thank you for inviting me today. I can't tell you how glad I am to be able to be here to help in this very meaningful commemoration of the International Human Rights Day, but also because this is a particularly important moment in history because the world seems so unstable. And I think you and I can draw strength from each other, and particularly from the leadership of Mrs. Rajvi and the People's Mujahideen, the National Commission of Resistance in Iran, to play a yet larger role at the front lines of restoring stability, justice, and peace to the world by bringing about change in the government of Iran. Everywhere we look in the world today, there seems to be trouble in their behavior are that the most critical threat the world faces today is from radical Islamist fundamentalism and terrorism, and its most important and threatening capital is not in al-Raqqa, Syria, but in Tehran, Iran. And that is why, in the interest of the values we share and the security and stability and peace of the world that we pray for, we must continue the fight to change the government of Iran. You and the NCRI know this truth, led by Mrs. Rajvi internationally, and all of you in the countries in which you work and lead. You have fought against the extremist policies and values of the regime in Tehran. America and our allies in Europe should support and strengthen the NCRI. To use the appropriate words that Mrs. Rajvi used, our sisters and brothers in the quest for peace. The world today is mesmerized and literally terrorized by the Islamic State because of its extreme brutality and its sponsorship and spawning of terrorist acts far from its so-called declared caliphate. ISIS is a real danger and must be defeated, or it will defeat us in our values. But at the same time, we cannot let the war with ISIS distract us from what I believe is the even greater threat from the radical government in Tehran. The truth is that the Islamic Republic of Iran has the same hatred of our values as ISIS, believes in the same extreme religious views, and employs the same terrorist methods as ISIS. Mrs. Rajvi, you and the leaders of the NCRI, the People's Mujahideen, have emerged as a powerful force for a values-based, mainstream, tolerant, nonviolent Islam, a force that a lot of the non-Muslim world has been pleading for a long time. The civilized world needs you now more than ever. We are at a moment in history that I would describe, and I think historians will see it, as the post-Iran nuclear agreement era. And I will tell you that my belief is that that agreement made all the trouble spots in the world worse, because it made our allies feel abandoned and our enemies feel emboldened. The agreement strengthens Iran and endangers the United States, Europe, and all the free people of the world. It's a bad agreement because it is based on trust of a government that has given us no reason to trust it. It is based on a hope that the agreement itself will moderate the behavior of the mullahs, even though during the negotiations and since the Iranian government has made clear over and over again that it has no intention to moderate its behavior, that it will not alter its support of terrorism externally or its tyranny over its own people internally. The brutal treatment of the residents of Camp Liberty is another example of Iran's total commitment to not tolerate opposition. And yet, the State Department, which still designates Iran as the #1 state sponsor of terrorism in the world, now seems to be thinking that Iran will become our ally in defeating ISIS. How can we trust a terrorist state like Iran to help us defeat a terrorist group like ISIS? And let me speak strategically and frankly to you. To defeat ISIS, we need the support of the Sunni Arab nations and the Sunni people of Syria and Iraq. So think about it. We have the governments of some of the great democracies of the world seeming to rush to embrace a terrorist regime in Iran, while too often turning their back on our natural allies, which is you, the People's Mujahideen of Iran. I will tell you this, notwithstanding what the current administration in America has done, you have very broad bipartisan support in the Congress of the United States and among the people of the United States, because they know you are freedom fighters. You are our allies against our enemies who currently, and I would say temporarily, govern Iran. Why, you know from personal pain and loss the truth of what I'm about to say. Why has the regime in Tehran been so brutal, especially brutal, to people affiliated with the Mujahideen, the resistance? Because they fear you, and they should. You represent the values of freedom and opportunity that the people of Iran, the great majority, most miss and most desperately want. Your leader, Ms. Rajavi, is a principled, eloquent, progressive, and inspirational figure. And it is very important to say that she is a religious woman, and she speaks for a tolerant, loving Islam, which is the heart of Islam, a great religion that has been corrupted and captured by this radical fundamentalist terrorist minority. How could anyone really, in the name of God, the creator of all of us, go about killing people wantonly the way the mullahs in Tehran have killed so many of the Iranian people, so many other people through acts of terrorism? I look at this heroic woman who's lost 8 children in the fight for freedom. I think the Iranian resistance is, and Mrs. Rajavi, is doing God's will. So keep it up. Let me conclude with a personal word to each of you. You're involved in a long struggle for a great cause, which is to rescue a great nation from the clutches of tyranny. And remember the wise words of the great anthropologist Margaret Mead, who said, "Never underestimate the capacity of a small group of ordinary citizens to change the world. In fact, it's the only way that has ever happened." And so I predict, will the Islamic Republic of Iran collapse in our time with a surprising speed, and you in the NCRI will help to make that happen. Mrs. Rajvi, President-elect, ladies and gentlemen, that is where your names will go and belong, along with the heroes and martyrs of Camp Liberty and so many others who have and will fight for the emancipation of the people of Iran. Today, I simply want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for serving a great cause, which is the cause of the people of Iran, but really it is the cause of all freedom-loving people in the world. And I pledge to you today my steadfast support until the Iranian fundamentalist regime is vanquished and victory for freedom of the people of Iran is secured. Thank you very much.